Look, everyone, it's Mando!
Ah, Mando!
A Mandalorian armorer has set me on my path.
But you're still running around here with the same little critter.
His name is Grogu. Wherever I go, he goes. Tell me where the Mandalorians are, and I'll walk out of here without killing you.
The Mandalorians are stronger together.
With the Darksaber restored to me, Mandalore will finally be within reach.
The Darksaber doesn't have power. The story does.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
It's the only way.
Hello and welcome to Mandalorian Minute, a Who Watches podcast about the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian. I am Travis Fishburne.
I am Alex Brunel.
And joining us this week is a special guest, Craig Gayner. Thank you, Craig, for joining us.
Thank you, Craig.
Gentlemen.
Welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and this is a pretty exciting episode to be on. And what we do with like all the guests is, Craig, how have you been enjoying this season thus far?
I've honestly been enjoying it quite a bit. When the season first began, I kind of got the sense that they were aiming it more towards a younger audience, but then as because you see the first episode and it was a lot of fun, but it's like, okay, we've got a dragon and then we've got pirates and then it was just like, it all just like felt like, then we had castles, it all just felt like things aimed at a younger audience. But then as the season has gone on, there have been episodes that have had, more mature themes, and this episode just kind of like brings together a lot of the storytelling. So I think all in all, I've found the season to be slightly tonally disjointed, but very enjoyable nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good summary of how things have been going this season. Yeah.
That's more than fair considering some of the things that have gone on this season.
Yeah. With this episode, in particular, we are talking about Chapter 23, The Spies. And this just kind of is a very densely packed episode. So dense that upon the rewatch, I was like, so interesting how like the previous episode was, and this, I'm like, they could have stretched this out a little further, I feel.
It almost feels a little bit like they wanted us to feel how good this episode really was by showing us how bad the show could be for 47 whole minutes the previous week.
Yeah.
I liked the last episode, but it was very much I would say it's like it was an episode that didn't really in many ways need to happen.
Yes.
Yes, but it was a bit of a filler episode, but there was fun to be had there within.
Right. I don't think it's not enjoyable, and I did think a lot of the elements were fun. I just
yeah. And we like didn't mention
last episode
this specific thing last week, but like Craig, you were talking about how last week you had gone to see the Super Mario Brothers movie on the night that The Mandalorian premiered, and you were spoiled by the special Jack Black appearance. And I'm sure it must have been really weird for you. Like, oh, this is a weird big day for Jack Black, apparently, last Wednesday.
Huge day for Jack Black, but also it was just like very frustrating to, the spoilers are coming out basically almost as soon as the episode airs, and it's very difficult to avoid. But yeah, that being said, Jack Black was probably the best part of the Mario film, and he was a very fun in a light way appearance in the Mandalorian. It's a good week for him.
Good week. And then this week, it's a good old week for Giancarlo Esposito coming back.
Yeah, welcome back, man.
It's Grand Moff Gideon. We'll go ahead and get into that. So we start off right away with this episode and continuing just like that scene last week We go into like real Blade Runner vibes. So much so, like, you know, here's an image from the episode, and then there's an image from Blade Runner 2049. And I even thought with her coat, like I know it's like very film noirish, and it's, you know, standard, but like it looks so much like Rick Deckard's coat from the.
It really does. I didn't actually pick out how Blade Runner this scene is until I saw the screenshot.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you that last week's episode, for me, a lot of last week's episode felt just like we're watching Blade Runner, the Star Wars show. And this scene picks up that same tone.
Yeah.
And I also want to. Oh, sorry, Trav.
I think we're about to talk about the same thing, so you go ahead.
I just wanted to shout out to Dave Klein's cinematography in this episode, which I feel like is a huge step up from the last few weeks.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I was excited.
I've been really ragging on the cinematography pretty hard in this season. Not that I think it's bad. I just don't think it's up to the quality that we've been shown in the first couple of seasons, generally speaking, so far this season. This episode, on the other hand, I thought looked really excellent all the way through. There are a couple of shots that looked super volumey, but other than those, sorry, Travis, what was the thing you were going to say, please?
Yeah, it wasn't cinematography. I was going to shout out the music, which I feel like was just like the cinematography, you know, has not been, you know, up to the same quality that I feel like it could be all season, but this one definitely, you know, just from the get-go with this whole Coruscant nightlife situation going on, and then what we get right into later when, you know, we get the reveal that the probot is using Grand Moff Gideon. He's talking, and she is doing things on his behest. He learns that the Mandalorians are the ones who interfered on Navarro. And also right away with this image, I was like, he looks different, right? He used to have facial hair, and I wasn't crazy.
He did, right?
Yeah, he did. He used to have a mustache.
Oh, that's right.
The other thing we learn in this is we get confirmation that the pirates on Navarro were specifically, you know, sent there by Gideon on his behest. So it's you know, they hinted at that with in previous episodes, like, hey, I think all these pirates and the, you know, everything might be all tied together, and we're getting confirmation of that here, that they're not just tied together, but that they're being directed by Gideon.
Yeah,
this episode is quite full of things that are, you assumed this, right? Well, here we're gonna say it, or did you forget this aspect? Here's some words to confirm the thing that you may have suspected may have been the plot. There's quite a bit of just like blatant exposition in this episode. I don't quite think it's bad. I think, you know, this kind of storytelling needs that stuff sometimes, and it's all of those times it happens in this episode, it's wrapped up in scenes that are worthwhile anyway.
Yes. So. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like in any other show or movie where like this kind of exposition is going on, I would be pretty eye-rolly, but this particular, you know,
there's one that is a little eye-rolly in this episode, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
And then we get to see Moff Gideon. This is not his ship. This is the location that we find out later on, I would assume.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, is on, spoiler everybody, is on Mandalore.
He's been on Mandalore the whole time. He kicked him out of their house so he could move in.
The call was coming from inside the house. So we see him walking with these new troopers lining the walls. And this is just a great image with the red and everything. And then we see him go past some vats of goo and presumably clones of some kind.
Probably clones of some kind.
Hopefully,
and we don't know it yet. We don't know it yet. But this whole hallway with the ray shielding these are the new dark troopers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We don't really know that yet. They kind of look like statues in this scene, even.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it when we get there because, we'll talk about that. And then where does he go? He goes and he meets with the Shadow Council. And
But it's the Shadow Council. it's so hokey.
It
and
is.
I love it. No,
But
I
yeah,
love
should
it.
be.
It's like a Venture Brothers thing. It's like that kind of
Absolutely. Oh.
And I love we get another iteration of the classic Star Wars motif of a hologram circle of people having a meeting.
Mm-hmm. Just like the Jedi Council.
Always happy for a hologram circle meeting.
I included this in here. Also, like Captain America Winter Soldier, where we got Robbie Redford. And he's talking with a meeting of holographic people.
This scene is awesome.
Yeah.
I love this scene so much.
So
what we get here is basically like where this is the Empire's version of us seeing the fermentation of the rebellion in those years between episodes 3 and 4. They're figuring out the strategy, they're building the sources in secret, like the other side is not taking the threat seriously at all because they're so confident in their win. It's the exact same thing in reverse, and it's so fun with all these bad guys.
Yeah. No, this is like the mirror image of like what we're seeing in Andor.
Yeah. Which is like that has to be intentional on Filoni and Favreau's part to echo the other good show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
let's just assume it is, even if it's not. Well, even if it's not,
just give him the credit.
Yep, give him the W.
Yeah, that's fair.
And we get a few people in here.
Yeah.
Some of which I'm like, I don't know who this person is, but there was one or two major reveals. One of which is this gentleman who is. This is the on-screen debut of Captain Pelion.
Yes.
And when they were saying his name, I'm like, I recognize that name. Like I've read it a lot. Is how I remembered it. I'm like, I've not heard this name before. I've read this name quite a bit.
Yeah. And... it took me a minute too, but like as soon as he started talking, I narrowed my eyes and like, I know this guy. Why do I know this guy?
So I haven't. I'll out myself. I haven't read any of the novels, but I've been told that he's very significant in the novels. But myself, what I'm most excited about in this scene is that he's being played by the actor Xander Berkeley, who is just a tremendous character actor. And I don't know if anyone watched The Walking Dead, he was probably one of the best villains in the series. He's a villain called Gregory, who is just as opposed to most of the villains in this show are just like these post-apocalyptic tyrants who are evil. He is just like, in that show, his character is just a bureaucrat who's like a snake and slimy and backstabbing and cowardly, and he has tremendous range, and I'm very excited to. I'm hopeful that getting an actor of his stature means that they're going to do a lot with this character as the story progresses, and I'm excited to see what he does with the role.
Yeah,
nice.
Also, John Connor's stepfather.
Yes, yes. Oh, that image just haunted my childhood. Oh man, the milk.
Now, Travis, maybe you can help me out on a fact check here, because I read the original Thrawn books, the 90s Thrawn books, the decanonized Thrawn books. I have not read the modern day Thrawn books. Pelion was recanonized in either Rebels or those new books, right?
In the new books, yes.
Okay.
He was recanonized. I've only read the first of those new canon Thrawn books, but doing some Wikipedia-ing earlier, I'm like, oh yes, he was brought in there.
Got it. Okay.
But
this is his screen debut, like entirely.
Yes.
That's very cool.
And this is Grand Admiral Thrawn's like right-hand man. The guy that he's always. So we were talking about exposition in this show. Get ready for whenever Thrawn shows up in this and Ahsoka, a whole lot expository scenes between Pelion and Thrawn.
I'm
Thrawn
so here for
and...
with these two actors. I'm so here for it. And then this scene, and Pelion presence in this scene specifically gives me a lot of hope that we might see like the back of Thrawn's head at the end of the next episode or something, within this season of the show to set him up in Ahsoka.
Back of his head, maybe him as a little
Maybe his
holocron,
face
yeah,
this time. 'Cause
something.
they showed us the back of his head in the Ahsoka trailer already. So maybe they did that to lead up to this. We'll end this with his face.
Yeah,
we will see.
that'd be very good. I'm hopeful. I mean, I don't care if it does happen, but it's exciting, which is nice to feel about Mandalorian right now. But that's not the only interesting guy in this scene. Travis, who's the other guy?
The other interesting guy is a guy named Brendel Hux, who this guy was also in some books in the canonized Aftermath books. And he is, General Hux from the sequel trilogy. This is his father. Mm-hmm. And he is being played by Brian Gleason, who is Donald Gleason's brother, which is very cool. I knew who this character was right away before they named him. I'm like, he sounds and look. This is Hux's dad. And then when I saw who was playing him, I was like, oh, that's awesome that they got him to play that.
That's pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect casting.
Also Project Necromancy.
Mm-hmm.
This is sure. The name's fine, but it feels like, but within this context, I like this scene and what's going on so much that I'm willing to overlook a rather silly name in this context. But this is like another instance of the bridge between Star Wars that we like tonally and story wise to the Star Wars that we maybe don't in the sequels. Project Necromancy is something that we can believe it ultimately results in somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is the somehow.
Yeah. Project Necromancy is the somehow.
But Alex,
Darth Plagueis set that up.
What happens if they canonize the Necronomicon?
Then I think
it's already been canon.
There's got to be Ash versus Palpatine, right? That's got to be a crossover comic book. Dynamite Comics can get on that with their Army of Darkness license whenever they want.
I mean, they did canonize the Necronomicon in Marvel, so
that's true. They did.
Yeah, part of the whole Marvel Zombies story. But then recross that with this. You know what? There is a wait. Hold on. Did they? I think isn't there like a cross between Star Wars and Marvel at some point in the comics?
Was there?
I have to double
I don't
check.
think so. There was.
You know what? I think
Star Wars What Ifs.
Yeah, there was a. You know what I'm thinking of? There's a cross between Star Wars and Indiana Jones, where it's like Indiana Jones finds like a Han Solo frozen in carbonite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's the image I'm thinking of. Anyway,
spoiler: that's going to be the end of Dial of Destiny.
Oh, that's a Dial of Destiny plot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking of the time on the Dumb and Dumber cartoon when they lost Milo and called Ace Ventura to find him. Oh no, the Mask cartoon. Mask lost Milo. They don't have a dog in Dumb and Dumber. Sorry. All 3 Jim Carrey movies from '94 had cartoons.
Yes. And they never did like a full on like
they never crossed
Avengers
over all 3.
Of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they should have.
But they did cross over Ace Ventura and the Mask. That did happen.
Beautiful.
2 competing Jim Carrey impressions on one show. Moving on. Project Necromancy. Back on Navarro.
So yeah, they're all waiting for Thrawn's return, and Gideon's like, "Oh, we don't, are you sure?" So I like where this is heading, where like Gideon and Thrawn are definitely going to be 2 opposing forces, and I think that's cool.
I also think though that we're seeing the hubris of Gideon here and saying, I can be the guy. We don't need to wait for Thrawn. I can be the guy. But it's like it makes me think that we may see Gideon just kind of finally bite it in the finale, and then to make way for Thrawn's uprising.
That would make sense. I mean, the way Gideon is talking about everything in this episode is like way too grandiose for us to not have seen the consequences of if he was successful.
Yeah. Yep. Fair.
Because he seems to want to be like a Emperor Jedi Mandalorian superhuman.
Yeah.
And I feel like we would have known about that if it was a thing outside of this show.
Well, we'll find out if that really happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what the storytellers have in store for us.
And then we also find out he's ordered 3 Praetorian guards. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh,
that was exciting.
That's interesting.
See, I feel like it would be more exciting if the Praetorian guards weren't just, completely just, I don't know. They like in the Last Jedi. They the Praetorian guards are just dismantled so quickly and easily that here it's like, okay, sure, you'll get those 3 guys come in, but it's like, I don't know, it doesn't strike fear in my heart as if we would have, we never got to see them in the sequel trilogy really, be that intimidating. They looked cool, and then they were very easily dispatched.
Well, they were easily dispatched by those 2 particular people, but I feel like any other normal person, they're gonna just.
I know. I just wish we could have seen them fight any other normal person. We never saw them.
Maybe
destroy.
We get to see him fight more normal people now. Yeah. I mean, like them against Mandalorian, just against Paz later is pretty good if brief, but we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, as you said, Alex, back on Navarro, we've got our boy Grief Karga, and he's in his office, and guess who shows up but a giant ship with the mythosaur skull painted on it. And who knows how long that took to paint? I do not know.
I mean, they had a lot of free time.
They must have droids. There must be little paint drones. That's got to be a thing,
for
right?
sure. Yeah, it's got to be a thing. So the droid is very concerned. He's like, "No, these guys are cool. They're our honored guests." And we see the whole fleet land, and then we get the sharks versus jets moment.
This is pretty funny, like just looking at these 2 side by side, these 2 clans. It's a fun little scene.
Yeah, it ends with Axe and Paz giving each other the stink eye or the stink helmet, setting up their battle later.
And Armor reminding everyone that she possesses the talking hammer here.
Yeah, yes,
That's true.
It seems that even the other Mandalorians respect the talking hammer.
Look, just because they like taking their helmets off doesn't mean they don't respect Armor and the talking hammer. Okay,
Good. I think that is smart of them.
Yeah, and also we get Grief Karga. He brought Mando some glasses and Romulan ale for his birthday.
He did.
They haven't had a chance to crack that open. I hope by the end of the season we get to see them crack that open.
That would be very cool. The only thing I thought when I saw this was the Romulan ale, and then my second one was, oh, this is going to be a very expensive bottle of liquor at Galaxy's Edge that you can purchase.
Oh, that's probably very true.
That's why they had to include it. You know what? As long as it tastes good, we'll be with this.
I'm jumping ahead a little bit in the episode, but we already know what the Mandalorians' intentions are, which is to leave Navarro. And I don't feel like they've made that clear to Grief. And I feel like Grief is anticipating that Mandalorians are going to continue hanging out on Navarro, therefore making it an overall safer place just by their mere presence, not employing them as a military like it was on Pleasure Dome 15. But, and then they're just like, oh, thank you for this beautiful bottle of Coruscant liquor. See you, Grief. Till next time. Happy trails.
Yeah.
Because I have thoughts on that aspect of it. Like the specifics of Bo-Katan's plan when she has that conversation. We'll get there. But yeah, it just felt a little bit like, and then I just hope we see Grief by the end of the season again, and that we know that he doesn't feel like wronged by the Mandalorians. I just want the specific weird social dilemma that exists only in my head to be cleared up.
Mando comes back. Griff's like, "What? I gave you guys the wine. Did they not like the wine?"
That was extremely offensive.
Yeah.
It was an extremely offensive bottle of wine.
This is, yeah, he'd be like a Klingon, and you've, disrespected his honor. Yeah, and so he's like, and guess what? I got another gift for you, and it is an Anzellan inside IG-11.
No,
now
not
IG-12.
Not IG-11.
Yes, not IG-11 anymore. It's now IG-12.
It made me sad because at the beginning of the season, they're like, "Hey, there is a way that we can resurrect IG-11." It's like, "Oh, that's really cool. I really love that character. It might cheapen his sacrifice a little bit, but it'll be great to have him back." They're like, "Oh, no, couldn't do it. Here's here's his carcass instead that you can use as a."
Yes, I actually really like this as a way to close that thread of bringing back IG-11. I didn't want IG-11 to come back. I didn't want the sacrifice to be undone as much as I like that character. This is the best compromise we could have, is that Grogu now drives IG-11 and has yes and no buttons, which I don't know if there's an internet opinion about one way or the other, but I'm hugely in favor of Grogu's yes and no buttons.
I am hugely in favor also. I'm hopeful that as he continues to use IG-12, that he'll be able to just find a way to get it to speak for him, so that way Taika Waititi will get to be the voice of Grogu for years to come.
Oh, that would be so cute. I guess we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
No,
oh my god,
fine.
I freaked out when I saw an Anzellan driving this assassin droid.
I did not even put together that it was going to be intended for Grogu. I
didn't either. I thought he was going to just have an Anzellan.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god,
right?
an Anzellan is just going to join the crew now. This is cool.
That's exactly what I thought.
Have we ever got any confirmation that one of these Anzellans is or is not Babu Freak? Because
we don't know.
Because Shirley Henderson is doing the voice. Shirley Henderson is doing the voice of Babu Freak is, so I don't know. I just feel like
I think these guys are like Pokemon. They seem to all be the same thing.
Hey, no squeezy.
Bad baby, no squeezy. So good. And the obvious puppeteering that's tidied up digitally, but just the obvious puppeteering when it walks past Grogu is so good. I love the physicality of the puppet and two puppets interacting. It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
And then Travis, do you want to tell us about the rest of the scene?
Yes. Actually,
so I can start talking about how cute this is.
Yeah, Alex, do you want to talk about that? I've got I did a weird thing with
got it
with OBS.
So then this becomes obvious that this is a gift for Grogu. He hops in the thing. Din tells him no to get out, and apparently all he has in there communication wise are yes and no buttons. So Grogu keeps emphatically hitting yes, like a rebellious child. And it's so funny. Him just stomping around like a little adolescent, just having his own autonomy for the first time in this way.
Except instead of being the size of an adolescent, he is a murderous droid. So
yeah.
They go to the market and he's eating food. He's like, "No, you can't have that." He's like, "F you, Dad." I'm gonna get this instead. It's like, no, yes,
I know.
no.
As they're walking down the street, he just keeps going, yes, 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 yes. Angela's reaction was, this is him just saying "we" as they walk down the street.
That's I mean, also, as someone who has had kids, of a smaller age, that is, what they like to do in the car. If they have something that makes the same noise, you'll hear it, 500 times during a trip. So I'm like, this is very real.
And this is I think a shining example of when cutesy comedy really works in this show, in a way where it didn't for me in the previous week's episode. Yeah, that's all. This I think really worked comedy wise within the tone and factor of the show.
I concur.
and yep, when
what a
he
delightful
squeezes
treat.
the
Oh yeah,
fruit.
did you get the image? Images up? Did we
of
see him in the suit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Him the suit, him with the fruit, him making
The Clone Wars fruit. That's the fruit that that they. Who was the one? who's the one that loved that fruit? Oh wait, is it Wrecker that likes these? Maybe it's not.
Yeah,
Rebels,
I think
maybe it's
Wrecker
Bad Batch.
likes it. Zeb and
Oh yeah,
and
Zeb.
Ezra also like it.
Okay.
This
So
is
space
the it's not the Jogan fruit, which the Jogan fruit was what R2 and 3PO needed for a cake in the Clone Wars. This
Oh yes,
is
I recall that episode. Yes.
Melior. Oh, ooh, I'm so glad I don't have to remember. Meloran fruit. It's something like that.
That sounds right.
Uh,
Melora melon.
yeah, something like that. Insert correct answer here. That's how you say it.
Yeah,
That's
I
that
didn't
fruit.
compete in the Star Wars division. That was all you, Travis. So
Yeah.
Everyone
Anyhow,
listening on
and
the
then-
podcast has heard it now. So
We get one of these guys. I forget what the species is. The space vendor.
mm-hmm.
oh shoot, I meant to look it up because they did have it. I had the subtitles on. They did say his what language he was speaking.
He's not Celestin, is he?
No, not Celestian.
So it was like a Tuareg or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
This is
I
terrible.
should have
I
written
knew
it
this a
down.
year ago, but Voberdand is the name of one of them from The Force Awakens, who's the communications officer. But his species.
Yeah.
Whatever.
His face looks a little
Good
bit
to
like
see
a
him.
Doug. I know he's not a Doug, but they have very similar facial structure to a Doug.
Tarsant. That's
There we go.
There we go.
That was close. It was
Very
close.
good. Yeah. So that's all very well and good.
Mhm.
And now Din has just given up and allows Grogu to have a killer robot
Jeez.
mech
This doesn't
to live
this
in.
doesn't work for me.
And I also noticed that like to move it, he actually has to go like this to the
Oh, yeah.
joysticks constantly, which seems like so much more work than floating in an egg. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand the advantages of the one over the other, but it really seems to be like a lot to have your hands preoccupied anytime you want to move the thing.
I mean, he's just been sitting in there. He's probably just, itching to do something. He's like,
True.
all right.
This is probably his only exercise.
Yeah, he's working out. He's gonna have some huge guns here soon.
Yeah.
Now that I'm
It's-
thinking of it, the tops of the joysticks are his favorite silver balls.
That's right.
Yeah. It's funny, like it is very reminiscent of Krang from the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It is.
Because I believe Krang also had levers like that that he was using to
Mhm.
control that big body.
I
that he
think
was
you're right,
using.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Except that body didn't have yes and no buttons.
Yeah. Oh,
So you
Krang.
just get Brad Garrett's beautiful voice in the film.
No, the only thing missing is when he got in there, he should have hung up the golden dice, right in the right over the cockpit.
I've got those in my car.
Me too.
My car got not broken into. I think my car unlocked. My car got rummaged through one time. The only things that were taken were a garage door opener that I no longer needed because I didn't work at the place I used it for anymore, and my Han Solo dice. It was the only things taken out of my car.
So you're telling me the thief had good taste?
Apparently, but I am going to Disneyland next week, so I fully intend to replace my missing dice.
Nice. Previous to the dice, I had these Death Star balls hanging up that I got from Star Wars Celebration 2015.
Those are great. I wish that they made those that were like truck nuts that you could just hang off
Yep.
of your truck.
Weirdly, I was thinking the same thing. I just didn't want to say it.
Yeah, I get to be the guy that brought up truck nuts on this podcast now. That's something I'll have to live with forever.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if, Darth Vader's advanced TIE fighter had some truck nuts on the back of it.
I mean, aerodynamism doesn't really mean much in the vacuum of space, does it?
Yeah, no. Can put anything back there.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we get to see the Mandos. They're having a barbecue. And I was so concerned that the creature they were barbecuing was one of the raptor babies that they had taken in.
That same concern was brought up in the Screen Crush video.
Okay, good. And looked deep into it, and I'm like, okay, it's one of those creatures from the first season that attacks the group when they're camping.
Okay. Good.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, because I anticipate next episode we will see those raptor babies
Ooh.
put to use in some final battle.
That would make
I mean,
sense.
You know, they're quote unquote foundlings, so I think yeah, they would
Yeah,
wouldn't
that
be
would make
red blue
sense.
Dragons. Yeah,
That sounds like something that they would do on this show. There's a lot of ground to cover in the next episode.
I mean, look, you set things up for 7 episodes, you pay them off in the 8th.
I hope that it's an hour and 10 minutes long.
I'll go an hour 15.
It probably won't be. I think contractually they have to keep it under an hour.
Oh, really?
I think so. I'm guessing. Have there been any
thought the
episodes
finale
that
last
without
season
credits
was
ran over like 55 minutes, or am I wrong about
yeah,
that?
I guess the credits are quite long on the Disney Plus series because of various languages.
Yeah, we don't count credits.
'Cause I thought, let me see, what's season 2?
The Rescue is 44 minutes long.
Then yeah, never mind.
Yeah. There's it has to do with pay rates for actors and crew on a half-hour program versus an hour-long program, and the max quote unquote half-hour-long program can be, I think, is 54 minutes. And this is only stuff I learned because I've worked on television shows.
So Alex, what happens with all these other shows? Like, there are quite a few HBO series that like go over an hour.
Well, those are hour-long shows.
Those are hour-long.
Okay.
So if their class is an hour long, that like an hour up is hour long.
Oh.
So this is even though this is often 40 to 45 minutes, it's technically a half-hour show.
Yeah, if you look at where it's nominated in Emmys, it's always in a half-hour category.
So you're telling me those Stranger Things kids got screwed by like appearing in a 2.5 hour show?
Yeah, they get paid for 1 hour worth of work.
Yeah, because that's one episode. Yeah, like a supersized episode like that. Yeah, and then per episode contract kind of a thing for an hour-long show. Although I would bet with like Stranger Things, they would probably have negotiated something for that episode specifically.
I can't believe that Hollywood would violate child labor laws. What? No, but yeah, no, I used to work in talent representations, and so I've seen a lot of like back in the aughts.
Gotcha.
So I've seen what the different SAG episodic rate minimums are for half-hour versus hour-long as well, and
right?
And whatnot, and so I'm sure other casts and whatnot, not casts, but other crew positions have similar. Yeah. Hashtag unions.
Yep. Proud member.
Nice.
Cool.
But yeah, I would guess that's why I would just guess that's why we're never going to see a supersized Mando episode.
That's why we're getting a movie.
I'm gonna love that movie so much. All right, on with this scene because I have thoughts about this scene.
Yeah. So then we get Bo, and she's like, "Hey, guess what, everybody? We're going back to Mandalore. I need a crew to help me out." Nobody does it at first, and then we get a whole "I am Spartacus" moment where seems like everybody.
You have my axe, you have my bow.
Yeah, is that?
I said to Angela in this moment, it's a really good thing that like inbred into the Mandalorian ways is just like you must measure your dick against every other Mandalorian.
Yep.
Okay. So if one is signing up to do a brave thing, you got to be like, I guess me too.
If the first person says, "Me and this child are going to do this brave thing," you look pretty dumb.
Yeah. And then as soon as Axe is up for it, Paz is like, "Oh well, I'm definitely going."
Yeah, I gotta.
But I just want to. Okay, so this immediately struck me as this way, and even more so once we get to the end of the episode. But Bo lays out her idea that they're going to take all of the Mandalorians to hang out in unprotected space above Mandalore, while a recon party goes down to the planet to find the Sacred Forge and find a place to settle down, which could take days, while the rest of the Mandalorians just sit in space and wait.
Well,
right?
I see. No. I buy the logic here because they don't know that there's any kind of threat against them at this
Well,
point.
sure.
And what they do know is that when Bo-Katan was there, they saw those Land of the Lost creatures that had came out that were trying to attack them, and they saw the not General Grievous that's there to attack them. So they know that there's like the ground has a lot of like crazy creepy stuff in it, and that you'd think that the space is safe.
I guess if I was dealing with like a rarefied commodity, which the Mandalorians are, and they're in a place where no one knows where they are, where there would be no threat. No one knows they're hanging out on Navarro yet, really, even though they're living out in the open. Why not send the recon party and a space support team should anything go wrong, and then send for the rest of them once they have shit locked down on Mandalore? It just seems like putting all of your eggs in one basket for no totally sensible reason. That's all. So that's how it struck me in the moment.
So there's you mean leave the children back on Navarro. Don't bring all of your children to this to wait
for a couple days until they figure it out.
Yeah,
I guess. I mean, like, Bo went away and left all the children there to go get the fleet for a couple days. Like, they were fine.
We only have 8 episodes, though.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it just seems like a really, you squash the basket, then you squash all the eggs, and you squish all the innards out of the Beskar armor and keep the shells.
Yeah. So I know. I know John Roca does a Star Wars podcast, The Jedi Way, and he on his podcast has been speculating for a while, apparently, that the Armorer is actually in cahoots with he didn't say specifically in cahoots with Gideon, but like was not to be trusted.
Yeah, Angela thinks the same thing.
Yeah,
my fiance Angela, who I keep mentioning, and you don't know who that is.
I'm sure she's like but watching this back, it does make a lot of sense if you think about the fact that he wants to eliminate the Mandalorian problem. And she, earlier in the season encourages Bo-Katan, hey, go get all the other Mandalorian tribes, even the ones that hate us. Let's get them all together, and then we'll all go to Mandalore together. And, it's a little convenient that they do that. And then, lo and behold, it's a trap.
That's a very good point, especially since we don't see her after she communicates with the ship at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I think we jump
around a little bit, but yeah.
Okay, fine. Good. Just making sure it didn't screw us up.
No, you didn't screw us up. But yeah, it's okay. But that's an interesting thing to consider that I hadn't really considered the extent of how she might be duplicitous. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very conflicted on that whole idea because very early on with her, I'm like, this is interesting. Her helmet has little spikes on it. They aren't in a huge, crazy way that the Mandalorians who are in support of Darth Maul were, but like it does make you think that like she's the only one with stuff like that. But then so far. Well, and then until we see. But just every opportunity she's had plenty of opportunity, I think, to take Grogu, like where she's been left alone with him. Where
that's true.
I know that, that's definitely a prime thing that Moff Gideon wants. And so it's very conflicting. And I feel like if the reveal is that she is behind stuff, if she is, because this episode is called The Spies.
Not just one spy.
Yes, not just the one. So who is the other one? Other ones. Yeah. If it is revealed, I'm going to need some more long exposition about why things are the way they are with her, or were the way they were, in terms of all of these prime opportunities. I feel like where she could have handed Din Djarin and Grogu over to Gideon.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Playing the long game, his goal is, sure,
That's true
Sure, Grogu
too.
is one of them, but it's if he's talking about wanting to get rid of all the Mandalorians, so
I mean, also the level of trust that Din has in the armorer is like absolute.
yeah. Well, I mean,
You
this
know?
was his covert,
Yeah.
Navarro. So it's
I guess another thing is, could I think the armor that we've seen could all have been, the same person since the beginning. Maybe there was an armor before that everyone really trusted. That person got killed, and then this person
Replaced
took
with
up
a
the
clone?
armor. Yeah, could be that.
That would be a little much, but okay.
I don't know.
Wilder things have happened.
Crazy
Somehow
stuff.
Palpatine returned.
See, you have been watching Picard this season, so
Yeah. All right. So yeah, they're above Mandalore there. They're looking out over. And then they do this jump, and during the whole prep for the jump and when it's happening, I'm like, man, you got to have a whole lot of trust that those jetpacks work.
for a while it didn't look like they did as they were falling.
I know.
So it
And
looked a little haphazard.
And you can see in the screenshot, but like there's Din just standing back there on the ledge. Like if he stepped like 2 inches in front of him, he would just fall down the hole. He's totally unsecured. Everyone else is at least strapped in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all. They're just very confident people.
They are.
We totally breezed over the. Oh no, we didn't. No, we're just getting on. We're just getting on to Mandalore. I'm getting totally confused by where we are in the episode. Sorry, I was about to jump ahead.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yes.
Yeah. We're talking about the entire episode.
Sorry, time's a flat circle, guys. Got confused.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then they land. We get to see the whole crew here.
This is such a great shot.
Made me think of, just like this shot from Predator.
I feel like Favreau made them do this shot.
Yeah. It feels like such like an 80s action, like we're here. We're the Marines from Aliens. We're everything that,
Right. Everyone has a different fun, huge gun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess just Paz has the huge gun here. Paz's gun that's a rad minigun.
Yeah. Speaking of Predator, it looks like the Jesse Ventura's gun from Predator.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, it does.
So they land, and then all of a sudden, we see this giant ship of some kind. This
a pirate
ship. Yeah,
but not really pirates. But it looks like a pirate ship.
A lot of pirates.
Always nice to see a good skiff in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Iconography this season with pirates.
Yeah.
But they show up, and then you hear somebody like shouting, and I really appreciated how realistic I think the sound mixing was with this scene, where I'm like, they're so far away I can barely hear them. And I thought, like, do I need to turn it up? And I'm like, no, this is just kind of like how it is. Where they're like, do you have any food? Is that Bo-Katan?
It was also really nice for once to see a scene in Star Wars like this that wasn't an immediate confrontation. That was just like, neither side assumed the worst of the other immediately. And I like that when that happens. It's just nice.
Unless one of those sides is the Spies.
That could be.
Is my inclination. And then we get a reveal. Yeah, we got this other group of Mandalorians who all take their helmets off. And they're like, yeah, well, even though, we lost everything, we're still really loyal to you, Bo. Let's go get it done. Get her done.
Yeah. So this is another one on the Jedi Way episode that aired that they did the other day, that Kevin Smets was very, very suspicious of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
Didn't even occur to me. Holy damn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and when you think about it, it's they've said they've been on this planet this whole time, and they had no idea that Moff Gideon was assembling this base of ships and whatnot that they basically lead the other characters to.
That's true.
They say, we're going to take you right there. And then...
That's true. I would bet that these guys are Mandalorian survivors, and that
there's I think that's true.
Yeah.
But they could be. You see how they are. They're not like looking great, and they could be so strapped for resources and protection. Their backs against
They
the
just
wall.
agree to work with Gideon. Yeah.
Oh, and of these characters, we've got the main one was from Top Gun Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
I forget his name right now, the actor's name, and then the one of his subordinates was Skinny Pete.
Yeah.
Skinny
Skinny Pete from Breaking Bad.
Love me some Skinny Pete.
Who that actor? It always like astounded me, like how like old he actually is or looks, as opposed to like in that show. They like really age him down to where you're like, oh, I feel like he's a contemporary of Jesse. And then you see him
I
this.
did not realize he was this old.
Yeah, he's
how old is he? I didn't see his age. What's his age?
He is. I'm trying to math.
He
52?
Yeah, he would be 52 at this point. So and he's supposed to be like a friend of Badger and Jesse in Breaking Bad.
In his mid 30s.
No.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, oh, who is this guy? It looks so familiar. I'm like, is that John Hawkes? Is that John Hawkes? But like, I'm like,
he did look a little bit like John Hawkes.
Yeah.
It took me a minute too to place him. Nice to see him in Star Wars,
Very
though.
Cool. Oh yeah.
So they are like, all right, well, we'll take you to the Great Forge. We know where that is. And
We'll take you right there.
Along the way, we get a nice little game of not Dejaric. This is another kind of space.
You
chess.
skip over a scene here.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, the scene, the two nice scenes, the dinner.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big like feast that they have where Bo explains the dark saber of it all.
Yeah. She did surrender to the Empire, and dun dun dun.
She did
so
yield,
like this was
and it turned out badly anyway. So it's like, all right.
Right. So she was defeated by Gideon by surrendering to him, hence she lost the dark sabers. This is like
she was mentally defeated by him. He
so
tricked
this
her.
is like that's like the now we can. This is how I felt about the dark saber stuff last week, or it's just like, okay, can we finally just be done with this nonsense? Can we just can it be in someone's hands and we just stop talking about how it got there? I feel like we finally closed the circle, but in this scene, I feel like it's wrapped up in a much nicer surrounding than it was in the previous episode. I really like this scene. This was a really emotional scene. Katie Sackhoff is really good here. And then it follows with this little scene between just her and Din, where he pledges his allegiance to her, which is also like a tearjerker of a scene. It's really sweet. And
he's like, I don't give a crap about no darksaber.
Right. It's great. Your song has not yet been written. Is that what he said?
Yes, that's the term he uses.
What a great line. It's a really, really beautiful little scene. We kind of needed.
Oh no, yeah, that's a very good point, Alex. Because it was not visually compelling, I didn't pull a screen cap from it.
And then have we gotten to the point yet where Armorer says, "Okay, I'm going to take all these sick ones"?
I think it's right after the scene. Yeah, right after that is when she's like, "All these people are, they're in bad shape. I got to take them."
So I'm going to take our one way out of here to take them back to the ship.
It'll just conveniently not be here when you all get ambushed. But again, it's so. I forget who I saw some rumbling on Twitter about people saying now speculation. So I never really distrusted the armor before, but now I'm seeing people on Twitter talking about how the armor is being set up so much as a possible villain that it's almost like they're doing it as a red herring.
Yeah,
so
I could see that. I could see that too.
Yeah. And I will say another thing that goes in the favor of that is if you go back to season 1, at the end of it where, Din shows up, back at the old forge, and she's the only one left there. And you see that all these other Mandalorians have died, and there's all this armor, and she's like, oh, I'm still here.
Yeah.
So
long con. Yeah.
yes, we will find out.
Yeah.
Hopefully by next week. And now we get the fun chess scene between Axe and Paz, in which he makes up his own rules. And
Well, when you have a game that doesn't have an official rule book, like to me, this felt like playing Monopoly with people. Like, oh no! When you land on free parking, you get the money in the middle. There's no, you don't get money for free parking. No, that's not how this works. There's all these different rules that people have developed over time for playing various board games, and the way Paz described it is like, when the bishop is flanking, he can do a flanking move. That's one of the rules. It's not in the rule book. They're making up their own rules for this too, just like they did about the way,
Calls them primitives too.
Yes,
Which is, I feel like is the actual thing that sent Paz over the edge here to draw that.
Yeah.
That's a vibroblade, right?
that
Or
is a
is that-
vibroblade.
Okay, so that's not a Dune thing. Vibroblade's a Star Wars thing.
It might be both, really.
I might be just thinking it might be a Lynch Dune. No, that would be a Dune thing because the
It's
Lynch Dune
stuff
thing
in
was the
Dune,
sound
too, yeah.
modules. Yeah.
No, it's definitely something I've been, reading about in Star Wars for a while, and it's definitely in the Dune universe as well. So,
Good.
cool. And so they fight, and then neither side can step in to stop it. But who steps in? But Baby Yoda in his mech armor.
Now, while I appreciated the fact that he did that, it was the voice of reason. He is technically part of the Watch. He would be on there.
He's
the foundling under the Watch, so he is he is part of Paz's clan. But
he's not taking the creed.
Oh, it's true. He is not taking the creed.
He is still a foundling. So I think that this gives him this weird free reign. Like kids have he just happens to be kind of like more emotionally intelligent than most Mandalorian children.
Well, it's because he's 50.
Right. Because he's a 50-year-old baby. Or like 52 now?
Yeah, 53, 54, who knows?
Yeah.
Much he spent many years with Mando, according to Jon Favreau, so who knows
That's
how
right.
long it's been.
True.
But yeah, great use of the no button by Grogu in this scene. And Din implying that he learned that from Luke. He learned that
True.
that
Learned
kind
that
of
for me.
Oh.
yeah.
That's interesting. That was your reading. My reading was he learned it from Bo. Because
reading
she's the
was-
one that says like, you taught him well, and he's like, not for me. And the fact that she's the one trying to like bring everyone together. I don't know. But yeah, it could be
I thought the
thing.
Luke thing is,
Yeah.
just like a peaceful dissipation
Mhm.
rather than a fight to see who's superior,
Yeah.
I thought he learned it from the lady who watches him on Tatooine.
Oh,
who babysits him
yeah.
from time to time.
Pelimoto.
Peli.
Yeah, I thought she was the one who taught him that, but that's just I don't know.
I wish Pelimoto had joined them in this adventure.
She could be driving the ship, just chiming in with commentary. That's what that would be fine. I would love that.
They could have made
Pelimoto. More Pelimoto.
a
Give Pelimoto a podcast.
a supersized giant IG-12 for Pelimoto to drive in that she uses to fight this monster right here.
Yes, the Mandalorian monster of the week.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which
So-
you go ahead, Craig.
Well, I was gonna say it made me a little a little suspicious of the pirates. That it almost seemed like they knew it was. They drove right for it. Like it almost seemed intentional. But maybe again that's just me having my mind poisoned against these characters who are very very suspicious. But the fact that they like they saw it coming from afar. They're like, "Oh, yep, there it is," and we're heading right towards it and destroying our ship.
This huge mountain-sized creature. It looked like the back of it. I'm like, this looks like Godzilla, and then it comes out and it's like, it is that big.
Yeah, it just destroys their ship with its tail.
And they do the smart thing this time. They do the thing that they
Fail.
did not do with the dinosaur turtle in the first episode, which is go down in the cave, seek shelter, don't try to fight it.
Yeah. This looks like a giant piranha. Like if Godzilla was a piranha instead of a Godzilla.
If Joe Dante made a Star Wars movie.
That would
I mean,
be
if
great.
Joe Dante made a movie, period, I'd be happy.
Joe Dante's last movie was not good. What was it? The Hole.
Yeah, The Hole is the most recent one I can think of.
Yeah.
It was a 3D one. It
It's
was
not
showing at a because we
went to that, right?
we
You
went to
with
it.
that
You
with me?
stayed for The Hole, and I did not. I left.
Did you leave during the movie or did you leave during the Q&A?
I think probably during the Q&A. I left after
Okay.
Thomas Jane was heckling his own movie.
Damn.
I couldn't pass up the opportunity to actually see Dark Country in 3D.
Yeah.
I do. I also remember for that screening of The Hole, we were sitting right behind Bruce Dern.
Oh yeah.
That was cool. He didn't talk. He was just there because he was in the movie. But
That's right.
anyway, welcome to that's this edition of Memories from Our Past.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. I have several other tangents. I could have taken this further down a rabbit hole. I opted to show restraint.
Smart choice. Smart choice.
So they go
so
down.
They go in the cave.
And then we get to see the forge. And it's cool.
It doesn't look like much.
It doesn't look like
is-
much. It looks
It's
like
just like, where are we?
yeah. Looks like a prime like location in like Jedi Fallen Order, like some kind of a video game
It does
setting.
look like a Jedi Fallen Order environment.
But I believe that this could be a location for them to fortify and
totally.
whatnot in
Yeah,
their
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
It's like this was it was a good plan,
Yeah.
except for
All of a sudden,
these other survivors that show up.
these other ones.
the hopeful looks on their face. Oh, are these other Mandalorian
Oh, look, jetpacks,
survivors?
more Mandalorians.
They've got the T visor.
These guys are awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool scene with these Dark Troopers. This fight scene, the whole thing is just rad. Are these guys or are these robots? I'm unclear because the previous Dark Troopers are robots, right?
Yeah,
I
he
believe
says.
these ones are clones, though, right?
Yeah, they are
Okay.
actual organics based on what
Okay.
Gideon had said. He said like the Dark Trooper like technology. He implied that he used everything like armor wise and weapons wise to like
Right, okay.
bring them up to code, but the rest
Got
of
it.
them is
That makes sense. Wonder who they're clones of. That'll be an interesting thing.
yeah. I've got a theory, which we'll get
My
to.
theory is they're clones of Gideon.
Is he that good of a fighter?
I mean, he thinks so.
That's
Mhm.
true. I mean, fair point. fair enough.
And they do, the look of them is very reminiscent, definitely inspired by, there were in Rebels, there were some Mandalorian super commandos that were basically Mandalorians that were working for the Empire, and they had their own kind of armor and costumes that, while not necessarily the helmet looks it looks like a weird cross between the original Stormtrooper helmet, the Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet, and the First Order Stormtrooper helmet. There's like elements of all three of those in here. But if you look at the actual, like the bodysuit and the flares on the shoulders and everything like that, looks like these guys.
Yeah, it does. I love that aspect. I think it's really neat. Yeah, it's very good. The hallway fight is great.
Yeah.
Them being led into the trap is like really obvious, but I guess they're too busy, almost dying to
For
really
sure.
process this information as it's being presented to them.
Because they're like running, and then I'm like,
He's
wait,
like, this way.
I'm like,
Okay.
this looks like a Death Star corridor. What's
Yeah. Well, it's like, and if you want, like, the troopers that they're fighting, like the one, so when they head in, there's some troopers that are in there. The troopers are retreating and retreating and retreating. Like you said, it's like very obvious that they're just trying to like lure them into a trap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is another thing that would imply that this group of Mandalorians, that Craig and I believe could be suspect, would be. They took them to the forge. We know where the forge is. We had looked all over. There's nothing. I feel like they would have,
Yeah, no.
How did they not see this giant Imperial base that was down the hall from the forge?
Yeah, I can't believe it didn't occur to me, quite honestly. It's a little bit, shameful, but that's me, baby. I just didn't see it.
I did think
but that's pretty obvious now that you're talking about it. Yeah.
The base, like everything on the side of it, it looked very, similar to Starkiller base when you see the stuff along the walls in there that Rey, climbs across.
Mm-hmm.
See all the TIE interceptors in the hangar.
Hanging down like bats. Like, how cool is this?
The best TIE fighters, TIE interceptors.
These are so cool.
Yeah.
And then the trap is fully sprung. They shut the door, separating Din and one other rando. Right?
Is that true?
Was it?
I
Din
thought it
and
was
the
just
rando?
him, but maybe I need to rewatch. And
I think there was a rando
I thought there were a couple. I don't think it was just Din, but it would have been...
But they went down quick, and then it was this takedown scene with Din where he lights a bunch of them on fire. And it's pretty great.
They've got him by a few more numbers than the 4-to-1 odds he usually likes.
Yeah. Then they get him all up in the Shibari rope bondage situation, and then Darth Gideon shows up.
Yeah, there he is. So Gideon shows up in full, like, special Mando gear, and I'm like, oh, this is super Darth Maul ruling Mandalore vibes going on.
Yeah.
The color and the spikes on the helmet.
And did you guys notice that this helmet has been in the intro of every week's episode?
I did not notice, sir. Are you sure?
Yes, the Star Wars, the Star Wars like franchise logo, which is different per show.
Mm-hmm.
There's a red light that shines on bad guys and a blue light that shines on good guys. And all throughout this season, there's been one Mandalorian mask that kind of looked like it had horns that had a red overlay on it. And so the theories was maybe the armorers, but now pretty sure that's Gideon. And that's been Gideon's helmet in the intro the entire time.
That would make sense. I will say that I both love Giancarlo Esposito in the scene, but also feel like he is really hamming it up in this scene.
He's playing a little too loose, I feel like, right?
He's very he's playing like he wishes he had that mustache back so we could twirl it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. He absolutely does feel that way. I dig this monologue though, and I mean, like, him just grandstanding and this outfit that's like so reminiscent to, it's like this outfit is this really cool culmination of like stormtrooper outfits, Mandalorian outfits, and like Darth Vader's whole get up.
Yeah, and I think that is the real reason why the exposition works is because of his performance, and the way that he delivers the dialogue. And the thing is, like, Giancarlo has been, as of late, playing a lot of villains on television. And like,
he's really into it.
Breaking Bad, The Boys, and it's always like the guy at the top who's like really evil. But the thing is, he does not have the feeling of, oh, we're just gonna plug in this guy again and get the same performance. It's
Right.
always,
He doesn't do the same kind of evil guy.
like, it's always so like dynamic and diverse the way that he brings different energies to all of these performances. And it's,
I don't know. This felt very Gus Fring to me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That was not. That was sarcasm. He was very.
Like, I'm just imagining Gus Fring making this face in this screenshot of him that we have here, and that's like the idea of Gus making that face is actually quite terrifying.
oh my. You know what I'm thinking right now is
that Skinny Pete is working for Gus
Skinny
Fring the
Pete,
whole
yeah,
time.
working with Gus. Also, I know how Moff Gideon dies now. And spoilers for Breaking Bad in 3, 2, 1. We've got Grogu. He's in his he's in IG-12, and he just keeps hitting like yes,
no,
yes, and then Gideon realizes what happens right at the last second.
Oh. If Disney were ever willing to part with their greatest merchandising item of all time, then you know, and I say that as someone who's staring at 2 Grogu tiki glasses right now. I am this one he's drinking the tea or the soup, and this one he's eating a macaroon because they have macaroons in Star Wars now.
Yeah.
Yep, Star Wars macaroons.
Yep, can't wait to get those at Disneyland.
They do have them.
Do they? Okay.
They do.
I just love macaroons, so it's fine.
I don't like macaroons, so I understand why he vomited them. But that's the unfortunate reality is that Grogu will never die because money. Therefore, there is never an actual threat to Grogu. That's the thing, you know.
You know, my theory this season has been that the title titular Mandalorian. I think a lot of people are like, oh, you know, the titular Mandalorian is really referring to Bo-Katan. I think it's really referring to Grogu because Grogu is a foundling. He's being trained to be a Mandalorian. I would love to see like a trilogy of films that take place like 150 years after this, where it's just about like Grogu the Jedi Mandalorian. Like
that'd be the greatest thing.
Yeah.
And because of his lifespan, they could set it like hundreds of years and generations after anything we've seen.
Yeah. And it like ties back into like the whole where the Darksaber came from, its origin with the Jedi Mandalorian, and you know, where it goes. That'd be very cool. So they take Din away. He's gonna go get tortured and interrogated, Han Solo style, and
very much.
Bo makes a break for it, and cuts a hole through the door, and everyone starts to pile out, except for Paz. It's like, no,
we'll hold him off.
You know what the way is? This is the way, and I'm gonna fire my gun so much that it practically melts in my hands.
Paz tackles this situation like I tackle video games, which is go in and don't stop hitting things until they kill me and keep doing that until it works, because I am bad at video game combat no matter the game. It works out better for him than it usually does for me. He lasted longer than I usually do. I'm doing very badly in Elden Ring right now.
A real Leroy Jenkins moment right now.
Yes.
Yeah, if we want to go back to the dick measuring contest between Paz and Axe,
he wins forever now, right?
Yeah, Axe is the one that flees while Paz gives him cover and then martyrs himself by destroying every single dark trooper that was there and only being felled, of course, by the Praetorian guards.
And Paz is going to leave his only son alone without any direct family, just to forever win over Axe.
Yep. But now we're gonna get the sequel series of the spin-off series of like Axe and Paz's son. Like Axe is now raising Paz's son.
Oh man. What a weird fanfic that would be. But then we get these Praetorian guards coming out.
Then the guards finally show up.
Like, oh man.
They've got some special purple weapons. which is interesting because their weapons were like of a red quality in Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And they've
maybe
got
it's because they.
Sorry, go ahead.
So maybe it's because they switched to the red weapons, which is why they were so easy to beat in the last Jedi. If they'd stuck
yeah.
with the purple weapons, they'd have a better shot.
yeah,
These
Mace Windu
remind me
style.
of the staffs that I don't know that type of droid, but like Grievous's guard droids.
Mhm. Yep.
Those
Magna
fighting
Guards.
staffs. What were those? Magna Guards.
Yeah.
Those. It kind of reminds me of those a little bit, but
Mhm.
stabbier, knifier.
I like that. Like all of these Praetorian guards as well have the Mandalorian T visor going on.
Mm-hmm. And also, they must not be made like because one would assume that the Praetorian Guards outfits are also made from Beskar as the Dark Troopers outfits are.
Yeah, these
Well,
ones. at
Not
least.
necessarily because the Praetorian Guards were just sent there.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
you're-
true. They are not.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
are not part of his force. Okay, never
Yeah.
mind. Rescinded. Rescinded.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, why would they? Because they
Yep,
they
nope,
definitely
taking it
don't
back.
have Beskar in the Last Jedi. And
I
it's
know
like,
that's
why
where I was
did they
going with that, but no,
downgrade?
that's a very good point, and yeah, I think that is correct. These guys just arrived; they're not made of Beskar. They are just very good at fighting.
Yeah.
Got it.
I do like the moment though when Paz gets stabbed with the purple sticky thing, and he like does the thing that that soldiers or like the people do sometimes when they're fighting and they get stabbed. He just like pulls the sword further into him so he can at least like get a good blow on it. And
Yeah.
it almost works until he gets
Right until the
triple
other
teamed.
two guys show up. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good moment. And that's it. That's it for the episode,
Yeah.
right?
That
And then,
is it.
but I did want to make the note that the closing theme this week was an entirely orchestral version of the Mandalorian theme. It wasn't the show's typical
Mhm.
instrumentation of the theme song. It was like a full-on classical orchestra doing the Mandalorian theme, and it sounded great. It was a really excellent
Mhm.
arrangement of the music.
Yeah. No, that's great. I also love, whenever Moff Gideon shows up, I love Moff Gideon's theme.
Oh
I think
yes,
it's really cool. I love when characters get themes, and
I'm really gonna miss him when he dies after
Yeah.
next week.
yeah.
and we're talking about like what these troopers are like, and he says that like they are all like him.
That's true.
And so,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, they're all like a younger Giancarlo. So I think that I put up
Oh,
this
boy.
image of what I think this would look like. So these are the troopers underneath the mask, as far as I'm concerned. They're all
Hold on. I'm trying to find the photo. I'm just assuming this is from Do the Right Thing.
yeah, it's bugging out from Do the Right Thing.
Bugging. Okay, good.
This is definitely what they look like under there. Yeah, they're all wearing the glasses. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, he pre-programs them thinking that their Jordans were stepped on.
Love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I was literally putting the finishing touches on that when you hopped on the Zoom call, Alex.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Saving that in
that's
my
it
archive.
with this. And so I guess we've kind of gone over what we assume might happen next week.
Yeah.
I think we've got like a mythosaur to deal with. I think
Yeah.
there's going to be like
Mythosaur.
a mythosaur, Deus Ex Machina coming in to save the day at some point, since
Yeah.
they're already there. and
Dragon
underground.
babies
Dragon babies.
Dragon babies. Thrawn, perhaps.
Yeah.
in the post credits. I've heard some speculation that Pedro Pascal is going to leave the show after this. So is it like, or would we think that he would die in this
interesting.
episode? I don't personally think he will, because if they're going to do a movie tying these all together, he has
Yeah.
to be in it.
Yeah.
But that's something that I've heard speculation on. I don't buy it.
I
but,
don't buy that either.
yeah.
I would buy him stepping back for a while, like, because has there been Mando season 4 announced? No.
Oh no,
right?
it's definitely like announced. Yeah,
Oh, it
it's
is? Okay.
happening.
Okay, so that's happening, but I could see him going off on some adventure that we don't see during the time of Ahsoka, and then playing a more diminished role in a 4th season of The Mandalorian, and then coming back in a bigger way in a culmination thing. I could see that.
Well, and the other thing is as this season has been, we have not seen his face at all.
True.
Like Pedro does not have to do anything, but he doesn't even have to go to a studio. He could record in his own home. Like,
Yeah.
I saw an image somebody posted of Pedro doing some of his voiceover lines, and he's like holding a pillow to represent baby Grogu as he's doing his voiceover, and it's just like it's the most adorable thing. It was like
yeah,
gotta
That's
give that right
nice.
space.
That's nice that he's working at it. I mean, it's a great voice performance. It is a great voice performance. It's also a fantastic physical performance on the parts of Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder.
Yeah, those are the two real guys who are bringing the physical performance there. And
it's a great physical performance.
There was
it really is.
An interview with Giancarlo Esposito, I believe it was last year, maybe earlier it was last year, where somebody was asking him about Pedro Pascal and his busy schedule, and they're like, do you have to wait on him for a while? And he made such a laugh about it, of oh no, we never have to wait on Pedro, really implying that he's not there.
Yeah, so I don't think it would make a lot of sense for him to step away from Mandalorian. This is the least amount of effort to most amount of exposure I think he could possibly get now.
Yeah, just like a certain character in Picard that is only appearing in never mind. I just I don't want to.
Yeah, I will watch season 3 of Picard. I just haven't yet.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I'll say no more. I'll say no more.
Yeah, watch some just watch a YouTube recap of season 1 and 2, and then you'll get an idea. But
all you need from season 1 and 2 to appreciate 3 is a couple big plot points, and you need to know who this Rafi character is, and you need to know why Picard is close with 7 of 9.
I can probably find. I probably know exactly where to find that on YouTube.
Yeah. And most disappointing thing about season 2 of Picard is I'm this was all this season. It felt season 2 of Picard in the Next Generation original series would have been just a 2-parter. It's Times Arrow is what season 2 of Picard was.
Yeah.
Did not make sense.
Yeah. I don't want to spend too much of this. No. Maybe we'll do a Picard podcast after next week's finale to break that down. But yeah.
But yeah, so that's all we got from Mando this week, and I think with that we can go ahead and wrap it up. So until next time, Craig, where can people find you?
Well, it can be found. I'm really not that visible these days, but what you can see of me is on Twitter at Barbarian Craig. I'm also on Instagram at CF Gayner. That's C as in Craig, F as in Frank, Gayner, my last name, which is the French word for win, because all I do is win. And that's the main places. I'll be popping up here and there. I did an episode of Betty and Moose's Save America recently, where it was a Star Trek episode, me versus Ethan Irwin. The key art done by the fabulous Travis Fishburne over here. So,
nice.
Yeah, and then I maybe I appear on Settle the Score every now and again on Matt Nose's channel. So, check out his show. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, Settle the Score, a great show. Everyone should tune into that. And Alex, how about you? Where can people find more of you?
I'm still on Instagram at there. My website with my resume of camera assistant work is at abrunel.com. And you can currently find me on my couch playing Elden Ring because until the writers and producers sort out this contract business.
Can I do one more belated plug? I apologize.
Yeah,
I
do it.
give the plugs, but I do occasionally appear on the Film on Tap podcast, which is Andres Gallego, Tom Chattelbash, and Nancy Rodriguez, aka Sister Chronic. That's on the Tom Chattelbash YouTube channel.
Nice.
So check that out as well.
Check out all those things. You can find the show at Who Watches Pod on Twitter, at Who Watches Podcast at gmail.com. You can find me at Travis Fishburne on all the socials except Facebook. Stay away from that platform we're streaming on currently. So until next time, initiate self-destruct sequencing.